Hi, I'm Sean Martin, president and founder of Donick Snowboards. You may have been told that wide boards suck. This is about as ridiculous as somebody saying size 13 shoes suck. Sure, they're probably pretty uncomfortable on my size 8.5 foot, but not nearly as uncomfortable as a size 8.5 shoe on a size 13 foot. Riding a board that's too narrow for you is about equivalent to trying to put on a shoe that's 3 to 5 sizes too small. If you ever walk into a snowboard shop and somebody tells you that wide boards suck, run. Don't walk out the door. Here at Donick Snowboards, we understand the importance of shoe size and board width, and we'll work with you to ensure your needs are properly met. Incorrect board width is probably the most common problem for snowboarders. Pretty much every board we build here is customized to the individual. Adjusting the width of a board a few millimeters or a couple centimeters is as simple as a couple of keystrokes for us. We like to get people on the right board width for their boot size, boot, and binding combination. This video will guide you through correctly determining the appropriate board width for your riding style. If you don't own a board yet, we're pretty good at coming close enough for your first board. Below this video, you'll find a link to a PDF file. You'll want to print 1 or 2 copies of it. The first thing you want to do is think carefully about your riding style or the board model you're interested in. If you're not 100% sure, you might select a couple of angles and cut along those lines. The lines on the angulation guide represent the steepest angulation you're likely to generate between the board and the snow for a given riding style. An extra consideration is the relative firmness of the snow you ride on. Softer snow conditions found in Colorado and the western U.S. will generate greater edge penetration when you carve a turn. As a result, you may wish to consider a steeper angulation. Harder snow found on the East Coast will result in less edge penetration, so you may be able to get away with less angulation in a carved turn. Use a pair of scissors to cut along the appropriate lines for your needs. You may wish to cut your 2 copies differently in order to gain some insight into how your board width might change. For this video, I have cut along the 70-degree line for free riding. Now it's time to get out your board, boots, and bindings and find a fairly good sized piece of paper. You will also need a tape measure, pencil or pen, and possibly a calculator. If you don't know it, you will want to measure your board's waist width. Simply find the narrowest portion of the board and note the width. If you only have a tape measure that reads in inches, converting is quite simple. Just multiply the number of inches by 2.54. Place a large piece of paper on your table, bench, or floor and lay your board with the back binding over the top of the paper. As the back foot is typically at a lower angle than the front foot, it is really the only one of importance in making this measurement. The lower angle will result in the most amount of toe or heel drag, so we want to work with it. Place a weight or weights on the board to flatten the camber or reverse camber and keep the board from moving. Trace the edge of the board onto the piece of paper. Bring your board angulation guide up to the edge of your boot. With the guide touching the boot at its point of greatest overhang, make a mark on your paper where the guide touches it. Repeat this process for the other side of the board. Remove the board from the paper and we'll make some measurements. Measure how far away from your board's edge your marks are and add them to the original waist width of the board. By adding the additional width you need under your binding to the waist width, we are simply moving the side cut curve out, resulting in a correct width adjustment at your binding or boot. This video has made the assumption that the board you currently have is too narrow. This is the most common situation. If you find the board is too wide, you will simply need to use your tape measure to determine how far the angulation guide is away from your boot and subtract that from the board's waist width. Now that you know what board width you need, you're probably ready to give us a call and talk to us about building you a board designed specifically to meet your needs.